Hi folks, welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Today's episode, Vampire the Requiem by White Wolf Games. Interesting backstory here. I used to be a huge Vampire the Masquerade fan, and I kind of got out of it toward the end of its line, and I have eschewed getting into Vampire the Requiem so far just because I kind of feel like I've done my vampire thing. But at the request of a lot of reviewers who saw our extensive World of Darkness reviews for the Mortals line, they've said, why don't you get into more of the specific lines? Vampire, werewolf, changeling, mage, etc. And we're starting to do that here with the first book that they put out for the World of Darkness line, Monster Specific, Vampire the Requiem. Let me say in advance, this is not just a redo of Vampire the Masquerade. Some concepts carry through, others are lost, and new ones are brought in. There's enough here that you recognize it, but there's enough that's new that you have to pay attention to what's going on. So what's different here? Well, in each of the critter, if I can use that word, type books, from vampire to werewolf to mage to changeling, the first thing you do is you build a mortal character to go into it. So, for example, let's say we're using a mortal character and you build him, and his name would be, let me think. How about Joel D. Ford? We'll use Joel D. Ford. It's a good common name. It's a nice solid name, plus it has that little bit of mysticism from the Old Testament nature of Joel. What's the D stand for? I'll never tell. So, Joel D. Ford, you build him, and let's say you want to make a high school history teacher who has aspirations to go into guidance counseling. So you build your character thusly, you put in some of your advantages, you put in your merits, your flaws, you put in your vice, your virtue, your attributes, your skills, and then what you do is you lay over the vampire template. This is when your character becomes a vampire. So in theory, you should talk to your game master, your storyteller, figure out, okay, here was how my character was embraced, here's what it entailed, what did it mean for the world as a whole. So now you've got your Joel D. Ford, your high school history teacher trying to be a guidance counselor, who just got bitten and turned into a vampire. Now what? Well, then you have to pick a clan. Now, Vampire the Masquerade had a veritable butt-ton of clans. Realistically, in Vampire the Masquerade, it is boiled down to 5. Each of those is based on some archetype of the vampire legend. Additionally, once you get your clan, you can sort of work your way into specific bloodlines, which are sort of like sub-clans, if you will, that allow certain different abilities to go with them, but each one ties into one of the 5 core clans. Then you can buy into one of the different organizations that the vampires can be part of, and each one of those brings a different point of view to the table. Then it sort of doesn't give you a unifying backstory like Vampire the Masquerade would. In Vampire the Masquerade, all the vampires were the childhood of Cain, ultimately, going all the way back to the first sin, the first significant sin, which was murder, fratricide from Cain. Here it gives any number of possibilities. The bottom line is nobody really knows. This has been a very well-supported line, coming out with concepts for how to build your own city, different pre-established cities. One of the baseline cities that they give you in here is New Orleans, always a haven for vampires. They are just now starting to come out with clan-specific books. So it's not Vampire the Masquerade. Some of the disciplines, the vampiric abilities that make you kind of extra cool are still there, but it's not quite the same supernatural superheroes that Vampire the Masquerade would turn into. They cost a little more, they don't do quite as much. You're still a lot less breakable than a mortal, but it's not quite turned up to 11 like I thought Vampire the Masquerade was from time to time. If you want a supernatural game, and you know the World of Darkness system, and you want to sort of bring the whole vampire mythology in, this is a great way of doing it. One of the advantages to this World of Darkness game is that you can have your vampires, your werewolves, your mages, your changelings, your hunters, your ghosts, whatever, all sitting around the same table playing off of a unified system that doesn't make one seem exponentially more powerful than the others. For Game Geeks, I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Good day and good gaming.